Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. It's your one-stop shop for everything going on with the Local 53. I'm Bob Matthews. Hey, don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss a minute of this. Well, we are waiting for OTAs to start in about 2 weeks, May 28th. All right, let's call it 10 days from now, 9 to 10 days from now. That's the first OTA session where we'll see everybody, rookies and veterans alike, on the field again. There's not going to be a whole lot going on. They'll be mainly in shells. Actually, they'll be completely in shells. No hitting at OTAs. But you are going to get to see some of the veterans start to integrate now with the rookies. And you'll just get a sense of seeing them both on the same field together, what possibly we're going to see once training camp starts. So again, that comes up in about 9 days. We got a story about Commanders majority owner Josh Harris making a little news off the field. You know that Harris isn't just the majority owner of the Commanders. He has his hands in a lot of other things, including the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Jersey Devils, and a Premier League team over in the English Premier League named Crystal Palace. Now, if you're not familiar with Crystal Palace, well, you may not think you're familiar with Crystal Palace, but you actually are. If you watch Ted Lasso, the team, the stadium it plays in, and the color scheme that Richmond AFC uses in the TV show, it's all based on Palace. And like their television counterparts, Crystal Palace had not won a major trophy in English football in its history. And this is a team whose roots go back well over 100 years. Well, that ended this past Saturday as Palace won the FA Cup over Manchester City. It was an upset. They beat City 1-0. Now, to give you an idea, again, if you're not familiar with it, and I know a lot of you out there probably are, but the FA Cup, that stands for the Football Association Cup, that is literally every organized football club in England, in England. We're talking hundreds, probably 1,000, maybe more, clubs that start playing this thing until they finally whittle it down to 2 teams. And Palace won it. It is considered the most prestigious trophy in the country. Biggest trophy ever. They play it at Wembley, which is the national soccer stadium in England. It is kind of what the Commanders' new home, they hope it kind of becomes in stature. And Harris's Crystal Palace won it over the weekend. So congratulations to the owner for that. Let's hope that that is a foreshadowing, maybe picking up some more hardware here coming up end of the year, actually early 2026. Scott McCloughan, the former GM of the then Redskins, was in the news last week. I know a lot of people have been talking about that as well. McCloughan was on the Team 980 with Kevin Sheehan, and he was dishing on some stories from the prior regime, whose name we try not to mention as often as possible. But Kevin got him talking about some of the horror stories from things like the draft room. One of the stories that McCloughan told was how the Redskins were not able to draft Stephon Diggs, who, of course, has become pretty good NFL player. At the time, I think it was going into the 4th round, and McCloughan had Diggs on the board, wanted to take him, and why didn't he, you ask? Well, he was overruled by then owner Dan Snyder, who said he didn't want him because of some off-the-field and personal and, character concerns. This coming from a guy who, had to sell his team because of basically sexual harassment. But again, it was yet another instance of a meddling owner not letting his football people do what he's paying him for. Now, should he have, was he justified in that? Well, again, it was a bit hypocritical for sure. McCloughan also said that Coach Jay Gruden didn't really want to have anything to do with Diggs either. So I guess in some ways you could say that, you're like, okay, maybe at the time it was the right decision. Of course, if you look back at it now, it was the complete wrong decision because Stephon Diggs has become the star no matter how you cut it. Um, Fortunately, with Harris, he lets the football people do their jobs. Also, I want to talk about the pass rush today. I know it's something that a lot of people have been concerned about. You know, why didn't they take an edge rusher in the draft? Why did they pass on the big names in free agency? Why haven't they tried to make a deal for Trey Hendrickson yet? But Mark Bullock, who writes, and by the way, if you like what you hear here, you should really go and subscribe to Mark's Substack. He has been writing about the Commanders in depth for years. Wrote for The Athletic on them, wrote for the Washington Post about them. Mark actually lives in England, but is a huge Redskins fan because he grew up in the DMV. And Mark knows concepts, and both offensively and defensively, and breaks down tapes like nobody's business. And wrote an interesting article this week about why the Commanders maybe passed up on edge rushers that they thought could possibly impact the pass rush and vastly improve it. And his theory is that what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are going to do is, and the moves they made, were to strengthen the defensive backfield, thereby letting Joe Witt send a lot more pressure via blitzes. And when you think about it, there could be some. I think there's some validity to that. So if you're wondering why they didn't invest any draft capital in defensive ends, I think it's because, number one, they traded for Marshawn Lattimore last year, and then they spent their second-round pick on Trey Amos, who had a first-round grade from a lot of people at cornerback. And I think the feeling is because your dynamic playmakers in that area are Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner when it comes to generating some pass rush. If you can shore up the back end of the defense, that lets you send more pressure from the linebacker and safety spot. And I think Mark might be onto something, and that if you're wondering how are they going to generate more of a pass rush, by making the defensive backfield better and having better coverage back there means they're going to be able to put more pressure on the quarterback with the front seven. It's a sound theory because last year a lot of times they weren't able to do a lot of things they wanted to pressure-wise because of coverage issues. Well, at least at this point, we don't think they will have those same issues, and the coverage should be a lot better. Finally, again, want to catch you up on the OTA schedule. So as we said, coming up next, we've got OTAs. Again, they will start May 28th, Memorial Day, and then they'll be off Memorial Day, and then they'll have another one on the 30th. So those will be our next 2 days, and it'll be our first chance to see the entire team together on the field this offseason. And again, it's, the onboarding process hopefully will continue, and we'll see which rookies are kind of grasping it, which ones have some work to do before training camp. That's going to do it for us for today. Remember, don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss a minute of it. We will see you again tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white. And, sorry we didn't get the Commanders graphic up there. I'll have it for you tomorrow, promise. See you then.